We changed it up. We changed up the intro theme. It's Andrea Llanes and Franco Panizo back here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show, aka Miami Total Football Radio, the show. And this is a pregame edition, right? Inter Miami takes on the Chicago Fire in a little bit less than an hour. So we're doing a pregame show, switching it up a little bit here on this first edition of what should be 2 episodes this week. So first off, as you guys can see, Andreita is here in the house. Andrea, how are you doing today?
Hi, Franco. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here, to be back, and to talk about Inter Miami, especially before a game and before a game that we have a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's do it. I'm
Yeah,
ready. Hopefully, you guys send all your comments and everything that you think about what's happening with Inter Miami.
Yeah, so we're going to preview the game in a little bit of detail here. Of course, we're going to talk about the news from yesterday and the days leading into this match here. Obviously, bit of a different setup here, which is what this video and YouTube setup allows for us to do, right? Because we can do different things and experiment. So it's not the first time we've done a pregame show or pod or whatever you want to call it, but it's been the first time in a while. So, Andreita, let's have some fun with this one because there is a lot to talk about. Lineup should be coming out any minute now. From what I hear, Messi is not in the match day roster, which would make a lot of sense based on what we saw yesterday. But let's start there, right? Let's start there. It's not been confirmed yet, although that's what I'm hearing. It's not been confirmed yet, but Messi yesterday
He didn't travel.
He did not travel, so that means he should not be in the match day roster. But we saw him yesterday at practice doing a little bit more than what we've seen over the last few weeks in terms of his participation in training. Now, he was still doing individual work off to the side, trabajos diferenciados, but we saw him nonetheless. Let's look at some of the footage that we were able to capture at practice yesterday, and then we'll go into what Tata said about his availability. All right. So we gave you about a minute there of Lionel Messi running around and jogging around. I don't know how much value you guys put into that, but that is essentially what we do during our 15 minutes of availability. It's the type of things we see. Obviously, Andrea, it's just the beginning of training. We don't know what the rest of his session looked like. We don't know if he joined with the team or not. I didn't get any information with regards to that. But judging off of that, pretty much safe to assume that he didn't take part in team training. Tata did say before the media availability and the interviews done beforehand that Messi could partake in some part of team training either Tuesday or Wednesday, but Wednesday just so happened to coincide with the game, so that was probably not happening. Regardless, it doesn't look like he was doing very intense exercises, right? It looks like he's still working his way back from the injury. So, Andrea, what are your thoughts on what we saw there? I mean, clearly
he's injured.
He's not close.
Clearly, he's injured. He's doing the work of someone who is slowly getting back. He's running up, not running at full velocity even. He's just beginning his recuperation. And with what we saw yesterday, it's clear to me that he's injured. He's clearly injured.
Clearly he's working his way back, right? It's pretty clear based off of what we saw there. Now, let's listen to what Tata said, because there was a lot that Tata said about, Messi's availability coming into this one. He also talked about Leonardo Campana, who was ruled out of today's game. Let's listen to that, and then we'll dive into it a little bit further.
Leo Campana, este partido va a descansar y lo vamos a seguir evaluando en función de la molestia que tuvo el partido anterior para ver si llega o no al partido de Cincinnati. Y en el caso de Leo Messi, como dijimos en estos últimos días, veremos el entrenamiento, veremos si no corre ningún tipo de riesgo y evaluaremos si es conveniente que viaje o no viaje.
Okay, so they had not made a decision, according to Tata. Andrea, how much did you believe of what Tata said yesterday in the availability prior to practice, prior to us seeing Messi train? How much of what he said did you take at face value?
Not much really, because listen, with Campana we could get a timeline. With Jordi Alba we got a timeline, but with Messi we didn't get anything. So for me, it's clear that that's because of the business, the league, the tickets sold, and everything that's going out outside of the field. That it's not Tata's fault, not even Messi's fault, but it is what it is. And for me, it's clear that it's what's happening. And after watching him just run around there, clearly just slowly coming back, that is the same work that Gregory was doing like 3 months ago, like when he was just beginning to train again. So I don't know. It is disappointing that we still don't know what is bothering Lionel Messi. There are
La
reports
cicatriz, Andrea, la cicatriz.
there are reports that he is, in fact, that he had a tear. And what's interesting to me, in what Tata said yesterday, is that he said he let it slip that, oh, maybe he could tear it up if he rushed him, like. So it's unfortunate what's happening with Messi. Clearly, he's injured. He's working to come back, but was not going to be available, and he was not going to travel to Chicago. So, what Tata said, that they were going to evaluate to see if he traveled, was only because of the business side, about the tickets sold and all this controversy. Listen, it's a big controversy because it happened in Atlanta, and it now, a month later, it's happening with Chicago. So and it happened in Orlando and everywhere because Messi has been out for a month. So people are clearly mad, and it's not Tata's fault. Like, he needs to follow orders from his employer, who is the league, and the league doesn't want to reveal what Messi has. So it is what it is. It is what it is, unfortunately, for Inter Miami and for the people who paid all these pricey tickets in Chicago, because from yesterday, it was clear that he was not going to play, but the coach kept saying he could travel still. So, and that wasn't true. That was not a real possibility.
Rope Yerano says Franco needs to chill. His scar was hurting. He will come back when he is ready and feels 100%. I agree that he'll be back when he's ready, and that's how it should be. But the whole problem is not like, let's rush Lionel Messi back. That's not. I don't think that's what the big issue is in the general public's eye. I think it's this drawn out day-to-day conversation, right? And
It's been a month already.
We keep asking Tata Martino at practically every availability, every chance we get to talk to him, what Messi's status is. And the reasons for that is because Messi continues to be listed as day to day, when in all reality, it's not the case. He has played all of 36, 37 minutes for Inter Miami since returning from international duty a month ago, right? So clearly he's not day to day. Like it's and that's where we're going to dive into a different talking point with Tata, and that's that I asked him, and I did it in a very old school journalistic type of way, no faltándole respeto, not disrespecting him in any regard, but not just letting him say, the company line and getting away with just being selling smoke, vendiendo humo, because like Andrea just mentioned, Tata Martino in that previous clip that we shared, he says that Campana's out for this game. Que tenía molestias. He had some discomfort. But he said he's out for this game, might be back for the Cincinnati game, Leo Campana. Later on, and I'll share the clip. Actually, I'll share it right now. He was asked about Jordi Alba. This is what Tata Martino said when asked about Jordi Alba's overall health and his availability.
Tata y Jordi.
Y Jordi apuntamos a que pueda estar con Xavi.
Ok, perfecto.
Jordi, apuntamos a que esté contra Charlotte. You don't speak Spanish, you don't understand Spanish. That essentially means with Jordi, we are aiming for him to be available against Charlotte. Now, he didn't say which of the two Charlotte games, but he has an idea, and he shared with us the idea of what the timeline potentially could be for Jordi Alba. When it comes to Lionel Messi, and it's the same talking point we've had now for a few weeks and a few pods and a few shows, Messi's not just a player anymore. He's a brand, right? He's, especially when it comes to Major League Soccer. A lot of money is moved because of Lionel Messi. If he's potentially going to play, that's going to drive more ticket sales, more ingresos. If he doesn't play, if he doesn't play, people already know he's not going, so less people are inclined to tune in. Less people are inclined to go to the games and buy tickets, to buy jerseys, to consume the concessions at the stadium, etc., etc. So Messi is more than just a player, and more than just the best player on the planet. He is a brand, and millions and millions of dollars move upon whether he's available or not. So I understand, like you said, Andrea, if the higher ups are forcing Tata to not say the truth and not say, look, he's out for 2 to 3 weeks, etc., right? Like, we haven't got at any point a very clear timeline with regards to Lionel Messi. We just keep getting the company line of day to day, which again, if it comes from MLS, it comes from Jorge Mas, wherever it's coming from, whether it comes from Apple, whatever the case is, Tata just has to be a good soldier and do what he's told, right? He's, again, at the end of the day, he collects a paycheck from people above him. So he has to follow their orders. This is what Tata said, and this is a longer clip. It's a minute and 53 seconds. So if you don't understand Spanish, again, we'll do the best to paraphrase and translate at the end, but you'll get the gist of it hearing my voice and hearing Tata's voice, because, again, Tata tries to give us the company line, the day-to-day, they don't know, etc., when it's clear that they have to have an idea. Let's listen.
No apuntan que regrese, Leo. Obviamente sé que has dicho día a día, pero en el reporte médico se tiene que saber algún poquito de tiempo cuándo podría regresar.
Es que cualquier cosa que yo vaya a decir y si no se cumple se tomaría como... Bueno, hoy yo parezco el mayor vendedor de entrada de la MLS. Entonces, por eso...
Ya es un sellout.
Sí, como si yo tuviera algo que ver con la venta de los tickets, ¿no? A nosotros nos preocupan los jugadores. Lo que pasa que
Pero con Gregory no dijiste.
No,
con Gregory dijiste
hace 3 meses que no me preguntan.
No, yo te pregunté al fin de
Gregory.
agosto.
Sí,
y me dijiste que octubre.
Cada tanto.
Y me dijiste para octubre. Porque no dijiste
el
para
otro día
octubre.
vino Houston y tenía a Bassi, hacía 2 partidos que no jugaba. Bassi es uno de los mejores jugadores de Houston. No había una sola noticia de Bassi. O sea, esto se da aquí por estas circunstancias y yo lo entiendo y por eso contesto. Pero lo que pasa es que cuando es tan reiterativo, no puedo dejar de decir siempre lo mismo. Porque entre lo que Michelle me preguntó hace 3 días y pasaron nada más que 3 días y 2 entrenamientos solamente.
Pero es reiterativo porque no
porque se trata de Leo y lo entiendo, no es por otra cosa. O sea,
pero si nos hubiesen dicho un mes, ahí ya quizás ya no preguntamos.
Es que yo te diría un mes si supiera que es un mes. Michelle el otro día dijo que había gente que decía que estaba fuera de la liga por toda esta temporada. Y ustedes no corren ningún riesgo. Dicen un mes y no es un mes, son 40 días o 20 días, a ustedes no le pasa nada. Yo cometo un error gravísimo si digo algo en forma apresurada. Por eso evito los tiempos exactos que vos... Yo entiendo el deseo tuyo de conocer los tiempos exactos, pero si yo tuviera los tiempos exactos, lo diría, yo tampoco los tengo.
Sé que es un tema tedioso, pero obviamente...
That last bit, we'll get into the overall point of the back and forth.
That is the biggest lie, because he said...
What does he say at the end, Andrea? What does he say at the end?
He says, no tengo los tiempos exactos. That means he doesn't have a specific timeline. And he can talk in a rushed way. But listen, it's already been a month since this. Since he came back, we are gearing up for the last 2 games before the next international break. That's a month after Messi came out injured against Ecuador and all this began. And it's been already a month. If Inter Miami and Tata Martino would have said from that point, okay, he's gonna miss a month. He's gonna miss a month. we all would have been calm and knowing, okay, Messi's injured. He got injured with Argentina. He's going to miss a month. That is what is happening. But
What does
he's
that
now
hurt, Andrea?
trying
What
to
does that
play.
hurt? Hold on. Let's say they said that right a month ago. Let's say, all right, Messi's out for 3 to 4 weeks. Who does that hurt? Besides Inter Miami on the field not having their star player,
That hurts MLS and their documentary that's announced and everything, the money. So this Tata is trying to justify this, but when he says no puedo hablar de forma apresurada, that is a bold-faced lie, because he's doing it then with Campana, he's doing it with Jordi Alba, but not with Messi. And why is that different? Because it's the cash cow that MLS has. But
Absolutely.
that is a thing that we have to mention. If MLS get mad, the team gets mad, we have to say it, because it is what is happening. And it's really unfair for people, because people, one, in Atlanta, two, in Orlando, and now in Chicago. And let's not talk about all the people that have traveled from different parts in the world to Miami just to come and watch Messi, and he hasn't played since that Toronto game. He didn't play the US Open Cup final, which not only for fans was a mess, but for media, 52 countries bought the rights for that final, and that money went down the drain. Everyone is filling up their
Not if you're
pockets
U.S. soccer. Not if you're U.S.
with
soccer.
exactly the US soccer MLS is filling up their pockets, and fans are getting screwed. And that's very unfortunate, because listen, if you came a month ago and said Messi got injured with Argentina, everybody would have understood that. And you could create that expectation, being real with people, like if he's going to get back to that Chicago game, and you could build it up that way. But not to be this way, to be this mentiroso, this fachoso with people who are spending their hard-earned money to for them not to tell them, and then you go and tell them that Campana is missing just one game, Jordi Alba is gonna be back in a month. It's really unfair. I understand that Messi is Messi, but people are also his fans and are spending their good earned money to try to see them, maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity in all these cities and in Miami. And it's really unfair that this is happening. And I understand what Tata is saying, but that doesn't happen anywhere. Like even with the other leagues here
But I
in the
think we're
United
shooting the
States of
messenger.
America,
But I
because
think we're shooting the messenger, Andrea. I
even
think we're
with the
shooting the
other
messenger.
leagues in here, Franco, because you go to NFL, you go to MLB, even their biggest stars, if Tua got injured tomorrow and he was not going to play, we would know
But
beforehand.
so we're shooting the messenger, Andrea, because the difference is that
So
the NFL has rules in place to make sure that the injury report is as accurate as possible. Whereas MLS, it's a free for all. It's the wild, wild west, because there is no universal rule for teams to report injuries. So yes, Tata can come out and say, again, like you said, bold-faced lies. And there's no punishment for that, because there's no rule that says he has to tell us the truth about the injury, or that the Inter Miami has to label Messi on the injury report, etc., etc. I do think we're shooting the messenger, though. We're taking out on Tata because Tata is the face that is vocalizing, verbalizing the
yeah, of
issue
course,
at hand. But
he has that job.
I think the criticism is higher up. The criticism
Yeah.
goes towards MLS, and it goes towards Inter Miami, because
Yeah.
the call is clearly coming from them. Like, there's no way he can sit there and say, in one comment, "No, yeah, we expect Jordan to be back by the Charlotte game," and then for Messi, "Oh, I can't
We
give
don't know.
I
It's
can't give
too
exact
soon to say.
timelines. Can't give exact timelines because I don't have those timelines. If I did, I would share them with you." So wait, you don't have a timeline for Messi, but you do have a timeline for Jordi Alba, and you do have a timeline for Campana potentially. It's just, what a coincidence that they don't have a timeline for the one player that moves all that money and all the attention. It's a very
And
interesting.
look, we're getting another comment from Douglas talking about that. Nothing to do with the game. I am still angry about the increase in prices, $700 to $1,900 per ticket. So $4,000 this year, and it was so casual. I might stay and watch at home next season. So you're doing this in the middle of you announcing an insane increase that you with Jose talked about it when it happened in the podcast, in the last podcast. So you are doing this in the middle of that. How are you going to get people to buy your tickets if you cannot be straightforward when players get injured? It doesn't matter if it's Messi or someone. You need to tell people, okay, Messi is gonna get injured. So this is creating a lot of drama. I was at the Dolphins training today, and this was a topic of conversation because people were talking about how much money fans bought tickets for in Soldier Field. How the cheapest ticket before this Messi injury drama was $600. $600. So people are getting mad, people are complaining, and are being loud. So I think this is going to be a problem for the future and for Inter Miami, because you take into account the ticket price, the increase, and everyone spending their money, and them acting in this manner is not going to help them for the future. It's not going to help solidify the team and the fan base, because fans are going to get mad. This is a new team. It has only existed for 3 years, so you should be cradling people that are spending money, not just look at them as a cash grab with everything, with Messi coming over and his shirts and his documentary and the Apple deal and all of that. So MLS and especially Inter Miami should be a little bit more intelligent with that, because when Messi leaves and when Messi retires,
but you know, I said this after I spoke to Jose last week. MLS is the bad boyfriend, the bad girlfriend, the bad husband, the bad wife. They are essentially saying, we will do whatever we want, and you will get upset about it, and you will be and frustrated, and you'll get angry, and you'll say mean things, but in the end, you're going to come back to us. In the
I
end,
don't think people will come back.
But that's what MLS is banking on. MLS is just like,
Yeah,
all right,
but
we'll treat you
that
however we
happened
want,
one time in
and you're gonna
Miami
come back.
already. That happened one time, and the team disappeared for 20 and plus years. So they should be very careful. One thing I want to say, Franco, we already have the lineup
starting
officially.
Lineup. There it is.
So,
No Messi,
not
no
even
Jordi
on the
Alba,
bench.
no
Of course.
Campana. This is the
No,
starting lineup.
Campana.
Drake Callender in goal, if you want to believe the Inter Miami graphic, which, as we know, is not the most reliable all the time. Sometimes they try to deceive us, but we'll go off of the graphic. It's a 4-3-3. Drake Callender in goal. Your back four from right to left: DeAndre Yedlin, Serhii Kristoff, Kamal Miller, who recently signed a contract extension to 2026 with a team deal for 2027, or team option for 2027, and Noah Allen at left back. Your midfield three: Dixon Arroyo, Sergio Busquets, Benjamin Kremaski. Up top, your two wingers: Robert Taylor on the right, Facundo Farias on the left, Joseph Martinez up top. Again, Leo Campana out with some discomfort, some hamstring discomfort.
Also, Aviles is out because of yellow cards.
Thomas Aviles
that's why he's
not in
not
uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Andrea, and for me, Franco, that's a 4-4-2 for me. I don't think it's a 4-3-3. I don't think it's that way, but well, we'll have to see.
We'll see in about 30 minutes. Do you like the lineup, Andrea, based on what they had available? Is this enough to get something out of today's game?
It's what they have available. They have to be dangerous. They have to take advantage of every play that they have. Listen, it's going to be hard. It's going to be against one of your direct rivals for that last spot in the play-in. So I don't know if it's going to be enough, but with what they have, with all the injuries and all the players missing because of suspension and injuries, I think it's the strongest that they could have presented, because in defense, you're just missing Jordi Alba, but you have 3 of the 4 starters, so that should be solid. And I am guessing that in that left side, he's Noah Allen is going to try to get some help from his teammates in midfield. So I think that's something that they practiced yesterday, because that's the weakest side in Miami, for Miami in defense. So I'm guessing we're gonna see a lot of Farias coming down, or Robert Taylor coming down and helping in that side of the field. I think that's the weakest side Inter Miami has.
So I'll say if it is the 4-3-3, then it's going to be standard Inter Miami looking for possession, which I don't think they'll get away from. They'll look to keep the ball, look to get on the ball. It's about now how clinical and how dangerous they are on the final third. It's interesting because on the last pod with Jose leading up to the game against New York City FC, which we haven't really talked about, we'll probably save that for the pod later in the week. My key to the game was how lethal and dangerous Inter Miami was in the final third, because we know Inter Miami can possess the ball. We know they can knock it around. We know they can play sideways and go forward and backwards and have some nice combinations at times. But it's the final third without Messi that's been very inconsistent. Like, sometimes it's been good games where Farias has been, very good, and Campana has finished. Campana's not there today. But there's been other games where they haven't generated all that much, and they haven't been all that dangerous, and they haven't been all that lethal. And in the game against New York City FC, they pulled out a draw in second half stoppage time with the first shot on target in the 95th minute. It took them until the 95th minute, essentially when the game was over, to get their first shot on target. And thankfully for Inter Miami's sake, it was a headed goal from Tomas Aviles. Before that, they couldn't put a single shot on frame. Same thing tonight. I think you need a big performance from Joseph Martinez. He's been hot and cold, probably more cold than hot this year. I mean, definitely more cold than hot this year. I mean, I asked him yesterday if he was okay, if he was happy with his overall performance levels, or if he felt like he needed to do more. His response, I didn't clip it here, so apologies for that, but his response in Spanish was, "If my grandma had wheels, she would be a bicycle." That was his response. So, but I think he needs to have a big game today, because Inter Miami's playoff chances.
Listen, it's the strongest lineup they have. They don't have much in the bench. Okay, they have Gian Mota and Stefanelli, but Gian Mota is coming back from injury. Stefanelli is also coming back from injury. Has not been a constant. And then you watch these names. Okay, you have Edison Ascona, who is also an attacking player, but then all the others, Lawson Sunderland, David Ruiz, and Ryan Saylor, and Christopher McVeigh, and Ulloa are all defensive players. So this is your strongest lineup in terms of the attack and in terms of defense also. But it depends on what you've been saying. If Joseph is in the game, if Facundo Farias finds that chemistry with the players, because he hasn't played a lot with Robert Taylor and with Joseph Martinez. So it's also an improvised starting lineup in attack, because they haven't played a lot together. So it's gonna be interesting. Chicago is playing their strongest team. They come from a win. They come knowing that if they get these 3 points, they are closing in on that playing spot. And without Messi, they are going to try to get it in front of new fans, 70,000 people in Soldier Field. So they're going to try to get that win. So it's going to be complicated for Miami, because listen, they always struggle. They cannot keep playing the same for 45 minutes in each half. So it's going to be a little bit complicated without Messi. But I think, if we're being serious, this could work for a tie at least. It's the strongest lineup that they have available, and that's all I can say. I don't see them as favorites.
Rope Yerano says, "How do you call him mentiroso? It's not him, it's the league." That's going back to the previous talking point about Tata Martino and his declarations.
Well, he gets the blame because he's the one talking every day. We don't get to talk to Don Garber or to Jorge Mas to see why is the league making this decision. Even in the injury report that the league presented today, they marked Campana as questionable and Jordi Alba as questionable, as if Tata didn't say the day before that they are both out of this game. So it's not a decision that Tata Martino is taking, but it's a decision that Inter Miami, their management, not the management as in the footballing side, but the management, la parte administrativa, is taking. So Tata gets the blunt because he's the coach and he's the face and he's the one that is saying it, and he's the one that has to say it every 3 days with with the schedule of how it is now. So unfortunately for him, that is the position that he is left in, and he is left in the position of people getting mad at him, calling him a liar, calling him mentiroso, and people need to find someone to blame after they pay $600 for an upper bowl ticket in Soldier Field to see Messi play, and Messi did not even travel to Chicago. People are going to call him a liar when he still yesterday was giving them possibilities of watching Messi.
So, Andrea, this is the playoff table as it stands today. Inter Miami is 4 points off of the playoff line. CF Montreal currently holds that last place in the Eastern Conference in ninth place. So 4 points, 4 games left in the regular season. Inter Miami does have games in hand over some of its opponents or all of its opponents, some 2, some 1. But points in or games in hand do not necessarily mean points in hand. You have to win your games. Inter Miami does have still a fighting chance. They are mathematically still alive. But looking at that table tonight is massive, because that's one less game to close the gap. You've got 3 games left, including one this weekend. Messi is expected to return this weekend according to reports. Now,
Of course, he's going to return. His documentary is coming out on Friday, so he has to promote it.
I don't know how much that has to do with it. I would say more has to do with Argentina's national team getting ready for World Cup qualifiers and him wanting to be a part of that. I think that's going to be a big part of it all, even though it's clear to me, like I think it is to you, that he's not close to 100%. Like clearly, based on what we saw in those 15 minutes that we showed earlier here on this show, I mean, there's not much intensity to his workouts. Maybe he picked it up later on, but if that's what he's starting with, and he's not traveling again today, then I mean, how much more intense could he really go in a team session? Is he able to go full steam ahead? I don't think so. So tonight is a massive game for Inter Miami.
It's a massive game. Listen, because especially on Saturday, it's at home, but it's against Cincinnati, who's the best team in the MLS, and a team that wants to beat Miami after what happened in those penalties in the U.S. Open Cup. And what happened in those last minutes in that game that for me must have hurt in Cincinnati and its players, because they had it in the bag, right? So it's going to be hard. And getting 3 points today would be the best way to get to that weekend, even if Messi plays 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever. It's getting these players, because listen, all these players also get that in their head, because they've been losing. The headlines are they've been without Messi. Inter Miami is the worst team. So this affects the players also. So I mean, the players want to win. The players want to put up a good show, and this is their opportunity. This is their opportunity.
Andres Soto says, what are the chances of him playing Saturday? I think there are very good chances. One, because after that, Argentina's national team camp begins, and he'll want to take part of that.
50-50 in reality, because
he's playing.
Tata said yesterday that it doesn't matter if he doesn't play in MLS, his priority is always going to be the Argentine national team. He said it yesterday to our faces. So I expect maybe him to get some minutes, 50-50, but I expect him to travel with Argentina, even if he doesn't play on Saturday. Tata said it clearly yesterday.
I think
that was his priority.
I don't know if he said that's his priority. I don't know if he said just outright that's his priority. I think
es su prioridad. La selección tiene su prioridad. Y ya lo sabíamos. So he said it. And Inter Miami knew that.
That is a bigger talking point, and we can save it for later in the week. But obviously, there is now the perception of, well, what's most important to Messi? Is it playing with Argentina? Is it playing with Inter Miami? Et cetera, et cetera. But we can dive into that.
He said it yesterday. Tata said, you have your answer. He said it.
So
Argentina
we'll dive into it a little more later in the week. Focusing on tonight and on this game. Again, for me, depends on how lethal, how dangerous they are in the final third. Doesn't no good just have the ball side to side if they don't create anything in the final third. You got to score goals to win games. This team needs to score tonight. Andrea, who is the key? Who's the key player? We talk about the key to the game. Who's the key player? Who's the one that really needs to have? Is it Facundo Farias? Is it Sergio Busquets? Is it Joseph Martinez?
For me, it's Robert Taylor.
Okay, why?
I think if Robert Taylor has a good game today in attack, he is going to be a big difference maker, because I expect Chicago to take their precautions with Joseph because of his history, and with Farias because he has been that player that everyone is talking about and has scored some goals in the build up to this. So that could free up Robert Taylor, and Robert Taylor is dangerous taking shots from outside the box. So I think for me today, Inter Miami has possibilities of taking shots out from the box with Robert Taylor and also other players, not only Robert Taylor but also Farias and Sergio Busquets, the same Busquets. But for me, today is a game for Robert Taylor for his shot from out of the box, and I expect him to be very dangerous.
So
Unless he
me,
has to cover for Noah Allen in that flank.
but I think he's on the based on the graphic, he's on the opposite
Mhm.
flank. So he'll be playing alongside of or with DeAndre Yedlin as opposed to with Noah Allen, based on the graphic.
Mhm.
I'm going to put the question out to the to the viewers, listeners. Who is the key player to the game for Inter Miami? Who is the key Inter Miami player to the game? I'm putting it here in the banner at the bottom. It will scroll across. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm going to say it's Joseph Martinez. You know, I think a lot of players need to have a big game tonight for Inter Miami if they're going to come away with 3 points on the road. I think Tata has to have a good game in terms of the game plan and making adjustments if things aren't working. But I think I'll start by saying a lot of players, then I'll go into why I think Joseph is the key player for Inter Miami. Like, I think Sergio Busquets needs to have a big game. I think he needs to supply the front line with some of his passes, and he needs to hit a range of passes, not just those little dinks and those little touches and those little one-touch passes. I mean, if he needs to find a long ball, then find a long ball. We haven't seen that from Busquets in a while. I know they like to play short. I know they like to play through the middle. I know they like to combine and keep possession, but I think that might help Inter Miami's attack a little bit if they mix it up and try to have Busquets pick out a long pass. Now, that obviously means somebody has to stretch the back line, which is why I think I would say Robert Taylor, sure, you could use a good game from him, but I think Facundo Farias has to have a bigger game because he's more of the 10, right? He'll be used as more of the playmaker, the one that gets on the ball, that gets more touches, that looks to create either for himself or for others. So I think Busquets and Farias have to have a good game. But then I think it comes down to putting that ball in the back of the net. And that's where Joseph Martinez, we know his history, we know his reputation. Clearly, he's not the same Joseph Martinez before the knee injury. But you need the good version of whatever is left of Joseph Martinez tonight. If you get the bad version of Joseph Martinez, of whatever he has left, then you're in for a rough night. Because, like you mentioned, the bench, there's not a whole lot there in terms of attacking options. It's not a whole lot. There's not even an actual natural striker on the bench, if I'm not mistaken, right? So
No.
So it's really much Joseph Martinez or bust tonight. He needs to find a way to either put one in the back of the net or set a teammate up for a goal directly, in my opinion, if for Inter Miami to have a shot in this one. If we see the Joseph Martinez that has bad touches, that doesn't make an impact, that loses the ball, that can't keep it, then Inter Miami is going to struggle in that final third. And unless someone puts the team on its back or his back, I just don't see how Inter Miami wins this game. Joseph Martinez has to have a significant game tonight. Hopefully, for Inter Miami's sake, he does it and they live to fight another day. I don't think they won't be mathematically eliminated if they lose tonight.
Listen, I was going to tell you that with the results tonight, we get Montreal is losing against Houston Dynamo, so that is a good result because they haven't they won't. But New York Red Bulls is winning and Charlotte is also winning. So it's going to be hard. Even if Inter Miami wins today, they're going to stay behind Charlotte FC. So they're going to keep, if that result in with Charlotte stands, they are going to keep there. And mind you, Charlotte is playing Toronto. So they're playing the worst team in the league. So that's something to take into consideration. And that is why it's hard for Inter Miami. But as you are saying, and as we've been talking, it's the game to get those 3 points and to show. Shark Attack agrees with you. He says Joseph Martinez. Some people still have faith in Joseph Martinez, and this is the game to prove it. This is the game to prove it.
I'm not saying I have faith in Joseph Martinez. I'm just saying if Inter Miami is going to win this one, Joseph Martinez needs to have a big game. It's time. He needs to step up. He's a veteran. Yes, he's not the same player he used to be. but we need to see the good version of 2023's Joseph Martinez, not the subpar version of 2023 Joseph Martinez. Because if that happens, it's going to be a long night for Inter Miami in the final third, and that's going to probably. I mean, I think if you look back at the last few games without Messi, the last few ones, I think Inter Miami's averaging a goal a game. So, I mean, that's not good enough. That's not good enough, and they need to score goals to win games to get the 3 points.
Talking about Chicago, they have this youngster at top who's very dangerous, who would want to keep their momentum going. Look, Carlos Nunez Calendar, in my opinion, offensively, hopefully Taylor. You see, so some agree with me, some agree with you. So,
but that's cheating.
But he makes a good point.
Time out. Key player means key player, not key player over here and over there. Because we could say that for anybody. So he says Calendar, in my opinion, offensively, hopefully Taylor. So who is it? Is it Calendar or is it Taylor? Who needs to have a very big game tonight for Inter Miami to win? Again, listen,
Costa is dangerous. Shaqiri is dangerous. So Drake Calendar cannot be having mistakes like he did in the last game.
Absolutely.
And the defense cannot commit those same mistakes because
Andrea, if they make mistakes, what happens?
They're gonna lose.
No. But if they make mistakes, let's say in the game, they gave up a goal in the 10th minute off of a mistake from Drake Calendar. What do they have to do to get back in that game and win that game?
Play good offensively.
No, they have to score goals. They've got to score goals. Regardless if they want to win today, they have to score goals. So no matter what, the onus is on the attacking players. If the defense holds up and doesn't give up any goals, perfect, amazing, great. But if they do, none the same, or all the same, the attack still has to do its part and score goals. Joseph Martinez needs to have a big game again. I said, Robert Taylor would be nice to see him have a good game. Facundo Farias, Sergio Busquets. It's not going to be just one player, of course, but if there is a key player, I'm with it being Joseph Martinez. Lou Lopez, we have a bunch of different opinions. Lou Lopez says can't get into scoring opportunities if we don't have someone to create chances. And for me, Farias is the key player. So we've got a bunch of different responses. Everyone that has a different
everyone has a different. And listen, that's the thing, because this is a new lineup for Inter Miami, not one that has been used a lot, especially in attack, and they don't have any more at the bench. So with what I agree with you is that this attack has to tiene que conseguir goles, because it's the only one they have. In the bench, you only have Edison Ascona that could bring you something else, but he's not a striker. He's just a creative player. So if these guys that are starting cannot get goals, it's going to be very difficult for Inter Miami. And especially because, as I was saying, Shaqiri and this young kid, Costas, will want to shine in this game. And let's remember, the last time that they played, it ended in a tie. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, what Inter Miami, if you see that passion from Inter Miami of trying to win this game, because the problem is if Inter Miami has one of those usual first half performances that we've seen, it's not going to be easy. But it's all in their hands. Like I told you, Charlotte is winning against Toronto FC. We can expect Charlotte to keep winning against Toronto, and New York Red Bulls is also winning. So they have all the pressure. And sometimes when you go into this game and they will go knowing that these are the results, sometimes that pressure is unbearable, and players commit mistakes and something like that. So players are dealing with a lot of stuff, not only the table, but this Messi, and they are having to be judged and said, and here people say that they are not top notch because they don't win without Messi.
They're not top notch. If you look at the numbers, with and without Messi, they're just not top notch. Like with Messi, they were unbeaten in 12 or 13 games.
And for another podcast, it will be interesting to analyze decisions, tactical decisions from Tata Martino, because he's been getting praise because of the League's Cup and that. But for me, he has made a lot of mistakes in this last game, especially, and in the US Open Cup. And with
he's made mistakes,
tactical decisions.
Made mistakes.
We used to criticize Phil Neville a lot.
Absolutely,
and I have to do the same with Tata Martino, because
he's made mistakes.
His line of five and sometimes don't work. His changes don't work.
Andrea, he's made mistakes, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all, because the team that he has out there actually has the ball and possesses the ball. Now they are always effective. No, but you have to see who they're fielding out there. But we can talk about that later on. Before we get to our predictions, because it's almost time to turn on the TV or turn on the phone or turn on the computer and or focus all in on the match. Going back to Messi, I think he plays on Saturday. It'll be a cameo off the bench. I don't know how long it'll be. This is my supposition, not inside information. It has been reported by some other media members that Messi plays on Saturday. He is not there today. Because he's not there today, the Chicago Fire, which can seat, I think, 60,000 or so fans at Soldier Field in downtown Chicago, they offered credit to fans locally who bought tickets. Whether you agree with that or not, whatever. It should be a pretty packed house tonight all the same. People that were going,
That Miami should learn.
Well,
lower their season tickets.
Ibrahim Conte says it's everything for Miami, 2 goals. So, but my point is that the stadium should be pretty full. I don't really agree with you that there's going to be a lot of pressure on Miami players. I mean, they've played in a couple finals. I mean, yes, they're trying to get in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to feel pressure. I think what this team will feel and what they do need to figure out is how to play without Messi, how to be good without Messi. Because again, if you look at the numbers, with Messi, they were on that, unbeaten run, right? Where they didn't lose for 12, 13 games, whatever it was. And then without him, they've been pretty mediocre to subpar. They've gone, are they closer to without Messi? Are they closer to the team with Messi, or are they closer to the team we saw in the beginning of the season that, was struggling under Phil Neville? Obviously, it's different coaches, different players. Saw at the beginning it's closer to that team, right? And that's where tonight they have to deliver. So, Andrea, that leads us to the final question here before we wrap up. Prediction. Does Inter Miami help their playoff push? Does it help the chances for the postseason by picking up 3 points tonight?
No, I think they're tying with a lot of goals. I think they're tying 2-2.
Carlos Moreno says, definitely keep the pregame coverage, guys. Great show. Yeah, the idea was to start a little earlier. That was on me, though, because I got caught up with other things. So, but yes, I mean, ideally, we would like to do this for all the road games. Obviously, there's not that many more road games left this season. At home, at the stadium, it's a lot more difficult because we're in a noisy environment. There's unfortunately nowhere for us to go where it's quiet and we can kind of chat and analyze and talk and have a discourse with you guys, of course. But for away games, yeah, it's in the plans, especially in 2024, to do more of this type of pregame place where you guys can come and chat with us and analyze the match and talk about what our thoughts are heading into the game. So, Andrea, you think a tie?
A tie with goals.
I mean, I feel like Inter Miami is due for a win. I feel like they're due for a win. I don't know, man. I think they lose. I think they lose. I think they score. I just think they lose. I just haven't seen this team without Messi consistently be good enough. Again, hopefully for Inter Miami's sake, today is one of the days where they perform and they deliver without him. But I haven't seen enough recently and enough without him over the past month and change when he hasn't been on the field to say that this team is going to perform tonight. The LAFC game, I mean, he was on the field against the LAFC game. There other players stepped up though in his absence, but he was still on the field. His presence was still there, and when his presence is there, that draws more eyeballs, that frees up more space for other players. I think they lose. I'll say 2-1 defeat. A hard-fought 2-1 defeat.
You say that there's going to be goal. I think we're going to see a lot of goals in this game. And just to update people, Charlotte ended the first half winning 2-0. So either way, Miami wins or loses, they're going to stay behind Charlotte at least on this match day. Also, Cincinnati is going down against New York Red Bulls, but it's with bad news for Inter Miami because Santiago Arias, Brandon Vasquez, Luciano Acosta, Barreal are all on the bench. Cincinnati is playing all of their not normal players, all of the academy players, and Miazga, who always gets to start, but all their good players are resting up for Saturday. So that's something to take into consideration because these same players, this same backline will have to play against Cincinnati also on Saturday.
That's interesting because Cincinnati, they're the Supporter Shield winners. Mm-hmm. They've already clinched home field advantage in the playoffs. Today they don't need to play their starters. They don't need to play their starters on Saturday either. But if the starters are rested on Wednesday, or most of them,
means they're playing Saturday. Yeah,
then it's very possible that the more full-strength lineup plays on the weekend when Inter Miami hosts FC Cincinnati. We will do our very best. I'm going to try to make it tomorrow for you guys. So if you're joining us here today on Wednesday, I'm trying to. I don't know if Andrea is available. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know if Andrea, Jose, Simon, someone hopefully is available from the usual crew to analyze this game against the Chicago Fire after it happens, as well as talk a little bit about the New York City FC game, because I'm just thorough and meticulous and a pain in the ass that way. I just have to make sure we cover every game, even if it's only for a little bit, even if it's just in short spurts. So, Andrea, any final thoughts here before we wrap up? Because the game is getting ready to kick off very, very soon.
Yeah, I think Inter Miami needs to keep their defensive performance clean, and they need to all perform. That back four needs to all perform for them to get 3 points today.
Carlos Nunez says, my prediction 1-0 Inter Miami. Calendar, big game tonight. Calendar needs to have a bounce back game. He's se ha comido un par de goles a su palo, right? He's had a few goals scored on his near post. Something that's a no-no if you're a goalkeeper. So he definitely needs to have a bounce back game because his performance levels and his form has dropped off a little bit. Carlos Moreno says Miami wins 1-0. So a lot of positivity. We said Shark Attack's prediction earlier, 2-0. A lot of positivity from the Inter Miami fan base going into tonight. Everyone that we've highlighted so far has gone with a clean sheet victory. So we'll be back later this week, hopefully tomorrow night, to recap, rewind, analyze, dissect this game against the Chicago Fire, as well as the one from this past weekend against New York City FC. And
hopefully without more lies. Maybe we could get an answer. Messi is playing on Saturday.
Well, we'll
Yay!
see.
Day after his documentary airs.
We'll see tonight. I mean, post game we'll of course have game questions asked, but of course Tata's going to be asked about Messi. It's undoubted. There's no doubt in that. We probably won't speak to Tata until Friday. I believe Friday is the next day we have availability pre-practice with him. So, our recap and our analysis will go strictly off of this game. Again, we'll talk about the NYCFC game a little bit, and we'll preview the FC Cincinnati game that takes place this weekend. I also am planning to have a Sunday show this weekend because I'm off to Chile on Monday. So I won't be around on Monday, and it'll be probably tough for me to get good Wi-Fi in Chile where I'm headed, enough to do streaming. So I'm going to try on Sunday. I don't think any of the usual co-hosts will be available for that, so I'm going to have to find a special guest, but I'm working on it. But definitely we'll be back before Sunday, hopefully on Thursday. So, all right, guys, if you've been tuning in, switch gears, go focus on the TV. We will be analyzing just like you guys watching, taking it all in, and we will be back later in the week. For Andrea Llanes, I am Franco Panizo. You have been listening and tuning in to and watching Miami Total Football Radio, the show. We'll talk to you guys later this week. Andrea with the waves. I like it. Andrea with the prom waves. All right, guys.
See you guys. Thank you for everyone and enjoy the game. Hopefully you guys end up happy. See you soon.
Yeah. Hopefully they give you una emoción tonight, and it's a good one. Hopefully it's a happy emoción. Una alegría. All right, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.